This video covers the installation of a Carver Cascade 2 water heater to feed a mixer tap at the sink, giving hot and cold, and another mixer with a thermostatic valve on the shower. It's all fitted now and tested. I've just checked there was no gas leaks with some gas leak spray. This kind of stuff. That's what I got with my gas tank. And I've put extra hose clips on a lot of the cold water pipes because the newer pipe I bought, to extend some of the runs was not as tight on the nylon barbed T's and elbows. So I'm leaving the gas supply on overnight, and I'll come back in the morning and make sure there's no weird smells. I did have a brief leak near the isolation valve, but that's fixed now. So enjoy the video. I'm not an electrician, I'm not a plumber, and I'm not a gas fitter. So don't do what I did unless you think I've done it right. I'm going to fit the water heater in this cupboard. This cupboard is directly underneath my window. That's the window from the outside. So I just need to cut a hole for that square and feed the whole unit in from the outside. At the moment, the only water supply to the sink is through a filtered cold water supply. That feeds this tap. With the new hot water coming in, I'm going to fit a hot and cold mixer tap mounted into the surface there. This won't come through the water filter, but we'll only be using it for washing up. The water to the shower is currently cold only. When I've got the hot water fed up there as well, I'm going to have to put a mixer tap onto the shower as well. What I'll do is I'll replace the current outlet with a thermostatic mixer, so it gets the hot and cold and automatically regulates the temperature. I've cut a hole in the side of the cupboard where the heater's going to fit. It should give me access to the gas supply, because the gas goes in just behind the side of the heater. The gas enters on this screw fitting. This is on the left hand side and you're facing the wall, so it should line up with the hole I've cut in the side of the cupboards. Using this template, I lined it up with a back wall so that it would sit on the floor and then crossed off the centre point. I need to drill this through and then use the template again on the outside of the van to determine where the corners are going to be. If it's all straight, it will come through and the heater will sit flush on the floor of the cupboard, just a little bit away from that side to give me a bit of room to fit the gas, and the water pipes will be on the right hand side. That's the template on the outside, the centre hole lined up, and then the four corners drilled through. That's the unit just slotted in freely into the side of the van so far. The heater sits a bit further back in the cupboard than I expected due to the gap behind the cupboard. The hole doesn't line up where I wanted it for the gas connection, so I'll drill another hole a bit further back. That's the burner unit pushed in. Plenty of waterproof sealant around the outsides, and then screwed in place with 9 screws. The outer cowling in place. It just needs a bit of a clean there. I managed to fit the tap. This is a removable hose with a weight on the bottom of it. I've got a hot and cold supply, barb adapters on the bottom, so they're ready to fit onto the tank. I've changed the routing of the pipes a little bit, so they now angle straight underneath the heater. That gives them a straight exit out of the back of the cupboard through the existing hole. Both pipes come in through this big hole. The cold water taps into the existing pumped cold water supply, and the hot water runs around the front of the water tank. That's behind the step in the main living area. This is where the other end of that red pipe comes, around the back of the step. I've got to feed that following that blue pipe up to the shower tap. This is the hot and cold feed for the shower mixer. At the moment they're just hanging out into the bedroom. I've cut a couple of access holes just so I can do the nuts up on the back. It was easier than taking all the trim off the inside of the shower unit. These are the various components to get the shower fitted on the wall. What we've got is a barbed to BSP adapter, angled. Then we got a BSP to compression fitting with an olive. That goes on to the end of the copper pipe. These stick out the wall. Once it's stuck out the wall, you feed it through this adapter that's screwed onto the inside of the shower with another olive, and you screw down this section, then grips the end of the copper pipe, and that is a 3/4 inch BSP adapter that's ready for the shower fitting. So all I've got to do is get these two adapters 150mm apart to match the shower mixer, and the copper pipes have just got to be the right length so they stick out just enough to go through and grip the olive on there. This is the fittings on the end of the cold water supply, and then another one for the hot water supply. This fits through the back wall, so I've got the two copper pipes now protruding about the right distance apart. That's the wall bracket screwed in. That's stood at 150mm separation. I need to cut these copper pipes off so they're just short of the top of the screwed thread, because when that tightens up I don't want anything protruding into the tap fitting. So that's my pipe cutter, more or less just as short as I can get it. It only needs to stick out about that much. A little bit of filler just to make sure the water can't get behind the brackets into the wall cavity. With the adapters screwed down tight compressing the olive, you then screw on the shroud, just hides the mess. And that's the final shower mixer attached to the wall, nice and secure. I've got an angled adapter on the way so I can point the hose downwards instead of directly outwards. All I need to do now is make sure this is completely sealed, and then velcro a patch just to cover this up in the corner of the bedroom. That's the nut on the back of the heater. It's just accessible through the hole I've put near the pump. I've tapped off the gas supply behind the cooker. This is an existing coil that lets me move the cooker out from the wall without breaking anything. So this top pipe goes to the cooker, and that lower one tees off and goes through the cupboard, coming out to a gas isolation valve. That's where the copper pipe comes down and connects to the back of the heater. I've tightened all that up, it just needs leak testing next. I bought some rubberized P-clips for the gas pipe, two at the back of the cupboard there, just holding the copper pipe secure to the back of the cupboard. And I put a couple more P-clips just behind the cooker. I'm feeding the controller from another 5A fuse. The controller's mounted underneath the sink. It switches on like that. I need to refill the water tanks, turn the pump back on, then turn the gas supply back on. I'll do a test burn just to warm some water and make sure there's no leaks. And then I'll go around and do a gas leak test on all the joints as well. The pipework's now up to pressure and the pump has stopped again, so it sounds like I've got no more leaks to deal with on the water. It's all very quiet, but there's no gas leaks bubbling away. The green light's staying on. There's a bit of smoke coming out of the vent on the outside. The cover plate's starting to feel a bit warm, so I'm guessing it's stayed lit despite the wind. The instructions I've got suggest that a steady green light is fine. I did have red and green appearing to start with. That was because I hadn't turned the isolator valve to the on position, so it proved that worked anyway. I've got my hot and cold round the wrong way, so I'll have to swap the bulb adapters over. I finally got hot water to the shower today. I was having problems with it not feeding any hot water at all, just cold. But it turns out I had a loop in the red pipe that was causing an airlock. So I've straightened all that out, and now I'm getting hot water all the way up there through the mixer. So you regulate your temperature with the top dial between fully cold and whatever, hot as you can get it, and then you can either control the flow with the bottom dial or just pull the trigger on the head